Hello and welcome to episode 30 of TNA Top 10. I'm your host T Weave. With me as always is Andrew. How you doing, bud?
Gary, one of these days you're going to say that with confidence. It is episode 30. We
I
are
knew it.
live, whether you want to say we're live or not. We are live. I'm always live. I'm doing good. Basketball is here. Wrestling is here. We're here.
Baseball is here. You didn't say
Baseball,
baseball.
the baseball is here. Yankees 4-0. We'll get there. Don't
4
hate.
and 0. You must have
4 and
updated
0.
recently.
They
Goodness.
they swept Houston in Houston. Haters going to hate bitches, but can't take the eyes off the pinstripes. So go Yankees and Giancarlo especially.
I had to give a little time because I had a hint that was coming. Anyway, sir,
Well,
we're going to shake things up just a little bit. We've been talking about the new network that we're on toward the end of the show. We're going to start off with it this week. A lot of new information coming around. We've got logos, and I'm going to show those on the screen. Um, Pretty cool logos, Andrew. What are you thinking about these?
JD Hoop, our man. Anybody who knows JD knows what a great person he is. But he also is the designer of Cody Rhodes ring gear, the Street Profits, LA Knight, Jade Cargill, and somehow decided that he was going to help us out with the Rasslin and More network. So we certainly appreciate JD and all his efforts. We have 5 different logos, I guess, that you're going to see. And we will use them interchangeably. Second in the middle is the one I think everybody likes the best, but it pops. But there was discussion, so apparently they will be in rotation. Um, but
That's the way it
very
seems.
happy about that. I
Yeah, they
mean,
look
why not?
good.
If we have all 5, why not? Why just use one? You know,
Right, exactly.
Ric Flair didn't wear one robe. Why should we have one logo?
Well, awesome. So why don't we talk a little bit about what we're going to see on the network? Let's go ahead and dive into it a little bit with what's coming up this week. We've been doing this toward the end of the show, but we'll do it now. Filter free popcast. It's popcast, not podcast. If you say podcast, our buddy
They get
Dave's going to
offended.
get on you. Yeah, it's happened a
They get
couple of
offended.
times. I think Siri is probably correcting it in the chat, but I don't care. Anyway, it's pretty funny. So, Filter Free Popcast is going to talk about April 18th, 1998, um, WWF from April of 1975, where Bruno takes on Spiros Arion. Is that what that is? It's pretty small text here. I'm an old man.
Spiros Arion in a Greek death match. Hold the
Okay.
phone before we move forward. Saturday night hardly existed in 1998, so you know this is a shit show. And with Timmy, Dave, and TJ steering the ship, it's going to be an even larger shit show. So, because that's the go home before Spring Stampede that featured the main event, Randy Savage Sting for the world title, where you see the splitting of the NWO on Nitro the following night. Um, and then, of course, I mean, Bruno, only person ever beat Bruno was Larry Zbyszko. Oh, I beat Bruno. Oh, Arn, I beat Bruno.
And he's been on
Uh,
Filter Free Popcast
and he's
before.
been on Filter Free, so they got that for. But I just wanted to point that out. That Saturday night was basically non-existent. Was the A show for 20 years in Jim Crockett, and is somehow non-existent by 1998. So this is going to be a fun one for everybody to watch. And I know my buddy Dave is excited about WWF featuring Bruno in the garden.
I think so. And the other show we like to talk about, and I got to admit something here. I didn't do my research the way I was supposed to. I'm fumbling through my notes over here, and I'm not really sure
What
what's
do you
happening.
mean that you fumbling through your notes? You didn't do the research. What kind of show is this? I thought Allison Faye had you all worked out. No?
I guess not. She's been away, so
Ugh.
we're having to get back into it.
Well, it's a good thing I'm here then, since you're not going to
So,
talk about the fabulous show, Talking Rasslin with Pondwater Dave.
well, the voice that you guys hear, in case you've never heard that before, that's the fabulous First Lady of the Arn Anderson fan club, Miss Amy Vaughn, one of the hosts of Talking Rasslin. So, like she said, I couldn't figure it out. So, we brought her on just to let you know exactly what's going to be on their show this week. So, why don't you run it down for us, Amy?
I will. So, as some of you may know, or if you've never watched our show, Pondwater Dave is the namesake of the show, and it is actually his birthday. He is going to be 58, actually on April 2nd, which is Tuesday. And so we're going to have a birthday party for him. And so we're going to have guests, and we're just going to talk about whatever Dave wants to talk about, which probably will have a touch of Von Erich and a touch
Always.
of belts and a touch of,
The hell you say?
I know. Maybe some belts, maybe some run-ins. You just never know. But we typically are a show. We go live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, wherever you can catch us. Uh, we bring on guests. We usually have a guest on from the independent scene. Dave is a independent referee, and he's been doing that for close to almost 20 years at this point. And he has gotten to see a lot of great wrestling. And so we will bring people on and talk about their journey and what they're doing and what their goals are. And the independent scene is booming, and we are loving every bit of it. It is so fun to listen to people who are out there getting it and doing it. And just like Dave will say, the only difference between what they're doing and the WWE is that someone's been seen. You know, the talent out there is amazing. And so we like to highlight that. We have highlight different independent wrestlers and promotions that are doing some great things. And like I said, we have a great time. It is myself. I am the first lady of the Art Anderson fan club. And Justin Davis is also a co-host, as Andrew likes to call him, awful Justin Davis. But I just call him Justin Davis and Pondwater. And so the three of us get together on Tuesdays, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So we have I know I see Andrew shaking his head, but not all of us can live on the East Coast, honey. There are other time zones. And so ours starts at 7 Central. And we would love to have you join us. We have a great time. We have an audience. You can ask questions. You can make comments.
What an idiot. Idiot. Oh, what
I hope that's to
an
Justin and
idiot.
not to Amy.
I think it's
Producer's
for
throwing
Andrew.
shots.
No, that's not at me. We live in the only time zone that matters, and that would be Eastern time.
Oh,
So that is
goodness,
not
I
for me.
forgot. Interesting.
Not for me.
I hope I'm not an
Anyway,
idiot. Am I the idiot for living in Central Time Zone?
I guess we are. I don't know. I do too. But Amy, what are your thoughts on the new network? Lots of things going on, lots of conversations and new shows. What's your favorite thing to talk about here? What are you looking forward to?
Well, first off, the network is going to be such a fun collaboration because we're all pretty much friends, and we've all been on each other's shows or done different things. Uh, we're all fans of each other, which is another wonderful thing. And so it's really exciting to think about the different collaborations and different things that we can offer uh, for the audience out there. Um, I personally am thoroughly enjoying. I am working with TJ Stevens over at FFP, and we do a show that's called Power of the Pen. Now, TJ and I both love to read, and wrestling biographies and autobiographies, those are just completely right up our alleys. But we kind of take a different twist to it. The one that we've just recorded is with Brian Solomon. It is discussing his writing of the book about the Sheik, Ed Farhat. And we just don't talk about the Sheik, but we talk about the idea of how you write a book and the different things that he had to go through. If you're not familiar with the Sheik, he was very much kayfabe. You did not know Ed Farhat. You knew the Sheik. That was the only person that he allowed people to see. So when you're trying to do a book on someone who's already passed, who did not really allow for his real personality to be known, it's really hard to figure, to get some the inside stories. And Brian has some really fun stories to tell. Um, the other thing that I thought was really interesting, at least, I listened to the book on Audible, And Brian is the voice of the book. And so we actually spent some time talking about that, like how does that even work and who comes up with it. So some of the mechanics of writing, we talk a lot about those kind of things. And so I'm really looking forward to doing that on a monthly basis because number one, I love to read, and talking to the authors and learning how they did it and asking them questions, like that's just right up my alley. Dave has a show that is going to be called An Audience with the Pope, or the Belt
The
Pope. I'm
belt
sorry.
post.
Dave is a avid belt collector. He has 76. He will tell you that, and he's talked about them on our show. I've gotten to see many of them. Um, some of them are obscure, some of them are really famous. And so he's going to take you through each belt and their story. And he knows the history of these belts. You know, it's not just, oh, I like the way it looks, so I bought it. Like he's very, very well versed on the belt and the history. And again, I think that's something that's kind of fun to listen to. So I'm really excited about those. Um, FFP does one, Legends, Let's Rethink It. That is one that they've had several people on, and basically they just look at a legend and they look at the possibility of what if, and we all know, we all have seen, or we all, Monday morning quarterback, what if they had zigged instead of zagged here? What if Sting had won the belt and not, like we've all talked about, what if Randy Savage had kept the belt, or what if Ted DiBiase won the tournament at WrestleMania 4, and how that trajectory would have gone. So they do a lot of those things. And again, it's so much fun because you can really, in a sense, you can kind of see if you can rewrite history and make it better.
I wanted to ask you something, Amy, on the
Yes.
Ed Fairhat biography. Did you ever see I Love to Hurt People, the video biography of the Sheik?
I have not. It is something that I want to do because that is something that Brian talks a lot about. Some of the people in the book, I think it's a perfect, complimentary piece because you hear these names and you're hearing, what that Detroit building looked like and those kind of things. This actually will give you that insight, that perception of it, because there's not a lot of video uh, about it. That was about the 70s, 80s. Um, they did have TV, but, back in those days, they would just, you know, record over. They just weren't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily thinking about, well, there might be some fans in 40 years that want to watch our stuff.
Yeah, what kind of weirdos would
So
want to
they
do
weren't really
that?
thinking about that. Exactly. But that is something that Brian does talk about, and I am going to be watching that. I am on spring break. I work with the school system, so those are like all these little things on my bucket list that I feel like I don't ever get to do. But I think that would be really cool, as like I said, as a complimentary piece to the book, um, to actually see some of the personalities that they're talking about. Actually, see the Sheik. You hear, like you're reading this, and they talk a lot about how he was such a ferocious and feared character. It'd be really cool to kind of see that in real life, on the screen in a sense.
Yeah, I owned it before I moved to North Carolina. It was part of my VHS collection. So
Oh,
I actually
cool.
had the autobiography on, or the video biography on VHS, and of course gave it away or sold it when I moved. But as I did with all my VHS tapes, now they would probably be worth a little bit of money or something, because I had stuff you can't find, including the entire Coliseum Video Classic library. So but got rid of it. But I wanted to ask you if you'd seen it, because it would be interesting to, because they made that long before the book was written. I mean, they made the video
Oh,
because
yes.
he was still alive and everything, and he was still, they had features from where he was at, Joe Louis, and that sort of thing. And in the movie, they build to the big event in Joe Louis,
Yes.
there in Detroit. And that's
Was it?
kind of where they take the story. But I wanted to know if you had seen it, since you had such interest in the Sheik.
No, not yet. Was that a show? Was that the 90s?
No,
Was it the 80s?
no, it was the 70s, honey. It's the 60s and 70s.
Oh, that the show was building up to?
Yeah.
What what made you get it? What
It
made
was
you
at
get
the
the VHS?
it was at the video store for sale because they retired the movie, the rental.
Oh, isn't that crazy to think that was a wrestling video
Yep.
that you could rent? That's interesting. I
In
didn't I
Western
didn't know.
Nebraska. In Western
Okay.
Nebraska.
Okay.
So
But anyway,
good discussion. There's a lot of other ideas coming out of the network today. I was seeing some ideas about some watch-alongs for NWA, WWF from the 80s and that kind of thing. But there's another thing that we want to talk about and maybe experience tonight. Amy, why don't you tell us about it?
Yes. So, first off, I don't think I said this. Thanks for having me. I got
Of course.
disturbed when you said you didn't have any information about my shows. You hadn't done research, so I got kind of thrown off. So, uh, you'll do better next time, right? You'll do
Exactly.
better next
Well,
time.
we got this out of it, right?
I always love to ask questions and learn about people. I think that's a really fun thing to do. So I will have a show on the network. It's going to be called Amy Asks or Double A. Wonder where I got that from. Uh,
you're
and
welcome.
I know, as always. Um, but basically, what I'm going to do, especially for my collaborators, I've got a list of it's called small talk, little icebreakers, questions that I want to ask, and you all get to answer it. And you don't know what it's going to be about. I don't know either. I randomly draw out of a box that I have. And my plan is to continue to ask all our people on the network, eventually, grab some Patreons that we have and, get them involved in our audience because, like I said, I think it's kind of fun. And I don't know too many people who don't like to talk about themselves, right?
Right. And I have an idea. Speaking of people
Oh,
that like to talk about themselves, hey, producer, why don't you come on stage with us here? Why
oh
don't you join in
yes.
for this?
Bonjour. Hello, my friends.
So, just back from Paris, and we'll get more into that later. But the producer is on the show, and she's going to join in for Amy Asks. Welcome.
Amy, I'm so
Yay.
excited. Let's do this. I'm ready.
This is going to be so fun. Like I said, I love getting to know people. Okay. First question. Would you ever consider being a coach? Why or why not? So, would you ever, and this is sports related. So, would you ever consider being a sports coach? Why and why not? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
And I've done this a little bit with my sons. I didn't coach my daughter any, but I've got two sons and a daughter. And I coached a little bit with both of my sons. And my oldest son, I was on the baseball field with him one day, and I'm trying to coach him up a little bit. And he turns around and looks at me and he says, "Dad, if you don't leave me alone, I'm going to throw this ball in your face."
Whoops.
So I don't know that I'm a great coach, but I have done that. I'm willing. I just don't know if I'm able.
Interesting. You're willing, but you don't know how the participants will take.
Right.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say you probably need to stay away from it, right? Like it's just
Maybe so. At least with my kids.
At least with your kids. The Produsah. I can't say it like
Andrew, you want to?
It's a producer, yeah.
There you
the
go.
From
Produsah.
Yankee country.
Yeah.
God's
So-
team.
Yeah, God's team. That's right. So for me, no. A leader, yes. A coach, absolutely not. If we're talking sports, I'm way too competitive. Also, my neurodivergence hates to see people cheat and get away with it. And in sports, I can't handle it. I lose my shit. So as a coach, you can't do that. So
I don't know. Have you seen that LSU woman's coach? What's her name?
I don't
She's
know. I've seen a lot of
constantly-
coaches lose their
I-
shit.
I love her. Do not
I do
talk
too.
I do
No,
love
badly.
that. Yeah.
No, I
Um,
love her too. I think it's fascinating. I love it. I love
But-
it when a coach fights for her team like that.
But there you go. That's what I was gonna say. There have been known to go to bat for people, like Andrew, as they say, go to the mattresses for them. So it's what we do for our people.
Mhm.
So, you know. Andrew, what about you?
My answer is yes, if I had time, because I am far more mellow than I used to be, and I am a very good teacher. So that's the element people don't always see. They don't get on this show. Is I coach people every day. I am a general manager of a car dealership.
Mhm.
So coaching a football team, something that I love, would not be that much different. The biggest difference is they're children, not adults. So I
You want
actually
to
have
coach children or adult? What did you say? I didn't.
I coach adults at work. Sometimes they act like children, but they're adults. This would be coaching children or young people. And I know you find this hard to believe, and you've all known me for years, am very patient when I'm teaching, not patient any other time.
No.
I think you would be a great coach, Andrew. I really do.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. This is a fun question. I like because I randomly draw these. So it's always, I never know exactly what I'm going to do. What is your favorite language to hear spoken?
Oh, that's easy. Italian.
Yeah, she stole it from me. Definitely Italian.
Oh, yeah.
It's hot.
It's so hot. So hot.
And I speak Spanish, but it ain't Italian.
I don't know that I have an answer. I may say French. I'm just thinking about a French girl
Terry's a German guy.
speaking softly.
He loves when they start yelling.
Just go back
And
to
what she might
France.
be saying to me, and I have no idea,
Russian.
Come here.
So,
Although, hold on, hold the phone, because Scottish and Irish are up there, right, Amy?
very
But that,
much so.
well,
That's accents. That's not
yeah,
language.
that's
'cause
not
they're
language. That's
Gaelic.
why
Yeah.
hey, if we're going with accents, then I
hey.
got to change my answer.
Gaelic
you know-
is a language.
I know, but Adam
I'll take
O'Neill's
Gaelic.
accent is
I mean, we're
his
going to start
accent.
talking about
He
Becky
doesn't-
Lynch again pretty soon, aren't we?
Well, but he does say words that are different. I mean, it is a language, and I mean,
You know, the problem is you're from Kentucky and he's from Ireland, and they use proper English and we don't. That's what the difference is.
he says
So the-
churchy tree. Woo, gives me coat chills. All right. So we have 2 Italians, maybe some Irish and French. I like that. Ooh. Okay.
Mhm.
If you could meet any historical figure, who would it be and why?
It would be Nixon, so I could tell him to not break into the Watergate Hotel. So, fun fact, Richard Nixon wins the 1972 election 535-3. George McGovern only won his home state of South Dakota, which was worth 3 electoral votes. Nixon won the popular vote by over 15 million, was so paranoid he recorded everything and thought that George fucking McGovern had a chance to beat him in the 1972 election. I love Richard Nixon, and maybe it's because he was a criminal. I don't know. But I would go back in time and tell Tricky Dick to delete the tapes and don't break into the Watergate Hotel.
I think that's funny that you said that. I don't think we'll ever have an election that is like you said. So, I mean, he won the popular vote. He won nowadays it's so 49-50, like it's just crazy how divided that is. But, that's my first thought when you said that about.
Well, the 6% was a big win when Obama beat Romney in 2012. It was a
Right.
huge win because it was 15 or 20 million votes. But you're not going to see the Walter Mondale, Ronald Reagan of 84. You're not going to
Right.
see George Bush, Michael Dukakis of 88. You're not going to see Nixon and McGovern in 72 anymore. It doesn't happen. There's no landslides like that.
I know.
One
it's kinda
side's greatest is the other side's worst at this point.
right. All right. Historical figures. We've got Richard Nixon. What do you think?
That'll
You
get
going
some
next?
clicks.
Do you know yours, Produsah?
I'm tied, so you go ahead.
Okay. Well, I didn't have one off the top of my head, and this, for whatever reason, popped in my head. But Shakespeare, it'd be interesting to speak to Shakespeare because, I mean, this is a guy that through his writing invented words that we use normally, and we don't really think about that. But it would be interesting to speak to somebody with, he's got to be an intelligent guy to write all of that, and it'd be interesting to just understand how he spoke to people normally. Might be like the worst experience ever, but who knows?
Okay, so I'm gonna go off of Terry's story and watch how I weave this one.
We
In Paris, I'm weaving, baby, I'm weaving. I went to a bookstore called Shakespeare and Company, where I bought Mr. Andrew a Present, which is French Cooking by the Julia Child. Julia Child, historic. I don't know if you'd call her historic. I would. She is somebody I would have loved to like sit at the altar of and learn. I couldn't even imagine what that would have been like.
Mm-hmm.
I watched I don't know who else was in the movie, but I know Stanley Tucci was in it, and I love him. I think was it Meryl Streep who played her?
I want to say it was Meryl.
Anyway,
Might not have
that
been.
movie made me love everything about her and French cooking, and I'm like, and you notice I said I didn't buy the cookbook for me because I'm not going to cook that. That's all
Yep.
Andrew.
But we are going to cook, and we're going to review it on
Correct.
the RAM Network.
That's right.
Coming up in May.
Yes.
And we're starting with Sabatino's and Jimmy's in Baltimore.
Yes.
Not only that, later in this episode, we could quite possibly talk about Meryl Streep again. Foreshadowing. Anyway, let's move on.
Oh,
interesting.
All right.
All right. Last question, and then I'll let you all finish. What is your favorite meal of the day?
Dinner, hands down.
How come?
Because I don't really eat breakfast, and my lunch is usually super tiny. So dinner, hands down. I like to eat, so the meal where I get the most food, that's easy.
I'm going to say the same thing, but I'm going to say it in the Southern way. Supper is my favorite.
I needed her to tell me that. I didn't know what dinner was, so I was
What's this dinner thing you're talking about? So, like, I don't eat breakfast. I drink a lot of coffee in the morning, basically. And then lunch is just like whatever I put together to eat at work.
Yeah.
So I have a little bit of freedom for supper. I may make bad choices, but that makes me enjoy it more anyway, at least in the moment.
So for me, it's breakfast. One of the hardest things about doing my new lifestyle is the 18-hour fast or whatever, 16-hour fast, is skipping breakfast because I love all breakfast foods. All omelets, waffles, pancakes, bacon, sausage. I don't care. Love it all.
Biscuits.
So on the weekends, I will cook breakfast because I'm not taking eggs in the lunch bag. So I will, like this morning, I had omelet, but I had it at 2:00 in the afternoon. So that's how I broke my fast today. Was with
Shout out to Carl on the biscuits. For those who know Carl.
That's right. Carl the Baker.
Longtime listener of the TNA Top 10
Very
podcast.
supportive. Yeah. Comments, votes, all that.
He's a great pastry chef. I mean, he's looking, he'll post desserts and cupcakes. And I mean, I bet he could whip up all kinds of deliciousness. But his biscuits are very good.
I am envious of talent like that. I love to cook, and I am envious that somebody can do that like that.
Yes.
I'm not a baker, but I can cook.
Well, guys, I think so. Again, we all learned a fun little fact about each other, and we know some interesting. Like you said, Andrew, we know about you. We know that the other two are not really eating that much, but we know you love a breakfast and you're fasting. You told us that, and you would go back and change the trajectory of the world by telling Richard Nixon, don't tape, just let it go.
Yep,
Take
August
some,
9th, 1974.
tell him to take some Zoloft or whatever he needs to calm down.
He was
right?
a potty mouth too. If you've ever heard the Watergate tapes, he uses motherfucker like I do, and I am so happy about that. Yeah, Richard Nixon was a racist, a bigot. Every word was on the table during the Watergate tapes, and they are fantastic to listen to the President of the United States talk like that. I am all for it. And they're
Happy
laughing
Easter,
at me,
everybody. Happy Easter.
Yeah, there's gonna be a surge, and YouTube's gonna be like, "What in the world? Why is everybody looking up Richard Nixon?"
So I think we found a clip for this week.
No kidding.
Timestamp.
Thank you for
Exactly.
joining us, Amy. This has been fantastic, and I can't wait for your show.
Stick around
Thank
as
you
long
so
as you want
much.
to.
Well, you know how it is here at the Vaughn household. We got all kinds of stuff moving and shaking. But I really am glad that you all let me jump on. I want to eventually have you all on. We'll do a little bit longer. We'll ask a little bit more questions. But like I said, but that's kind of the thought about it is, just getting to know each other and letting the audience know about us too.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you.
Bye,
It's been
guys.
a pleasure
Thank
having
you.
Thank you. Come back anytime you
Amy.
want to.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was
all right.
fun.
Well, that was great. It was a lot of fun. We look forward to that show, among others, as we start putting stuff on the Patreon for the Ram Network. But guess what,
and
buddy?
more, not the pop and lock. I'm disappointed still. We're 3 weeks into this project, and I'm still disappointed.
When you first said pop and lock, I'm like, oh, come on, Andrew, come on. But the more you say it, the more it fits.
It's the conviction that I say it with, sir.
You've sold me on it, sir. But
George Costanza said it
salesman.
best. It don't have to be true as long as I believe it. That's all I'm saying.
All right. So there's a lot of things going on in the world other than our network. So why don't we get to one of those? And that is NCAA basketball tournament is hot. And there's been some upsets. Some teams are much deeper than they expected to be. And let me lead it off with the fact that NC State is now in the Final Four, the 11th seed. They are on fire, and they won 5 games in 5 days in the ACC tournament. So you would think, do they still have anything in the tank? Well, they ain't been beat yet. They keep going. And they beat Duke today, and they're going to head to the Final Four.
Yeah, they got the Final Four coming up. I watched the game. Very good. Duke had the lead at half, and then NC State put it on them. Filipowski fouled out early in the second half. That's Duke's big guy. Most of the offense runs through him, and the next thing you know, the Wolfies are in the Final Four for the first time since they've won the national championship in the 80s. So it's been a while. It's been a while since the Wolfpack has made the Final Four, but here in North Carolina, we celebrate. However, the other dogs, Terry, the Yukon Huskies.
I thought you were going to say something else. Carry on.
I don't know that you want to draw the Yukon Huskies.
You don't.
They beat Illinois with a 30-0 run. Illinois was a top 15 team, number 2 in the Big Ten behind Purdue, who has also made it to the Final Four.
Elite Eight.
And they're in the Elite Eight, and they beat them by 20 plus and put 30-0 run
25.
together in that second half.
And they've had a 30-point lead in every game so far in the NCAA tournament.
And better than anybody else, they're playing defense.
They are.
They're playing
if
defense.
They're not shooting well. And this last time, their guards weren't shooting well, so they just threw it down on the post. And they don't do that very often, but they got a guy that can do it.
Yep.
They're well-rounded. They don't necessarily use everybody every game, but if they need them, they're going to use them. And they look unbeatable. They're not undefeated, obviously, so somebody beat them this year. But that's going to be a tough task for who, Andrew?
I want to say it is
Alabama.
It's Alabama. Roll Tide.
Well,
the Tide got by Clemson.
They better bring it.
But Alabama better bring that 100-point average per game that they had, because they're going to need every single one of them against UConn. I told you off air in the group chat, UConn to me, I picked Nebraska to win because I ain't ever picking against the boys. But the real pick was UConn. I picked them from the beginning to win the whole damn thing. They were unchallenged during the season. Yes, they lost a couple games. They beat North Carolina in the season, but I think people overlooked them because, oh, it's the Big East. It wasn't the SEC. It wasn't the ACC. And so the next thing you know, oh, UConn isn't anything. Really? UConn
Oh,
isn't
look at
anything.
this.
They've done this before. So,
Okay,
oh,
let's
yeah.
go ahead and point this out, because
Go ahead.
for those that don't know, the Produsah technically lives in Connecticut.
She does.
Yeah. Do your bragging. So I'm in Alabama. Not that I'm pulling for the Crimson Tide here, because I'm definitely not. And Andrew's in North Carolina, for those that don't know all this. But yeah. And what we haven't mentioned yet is Purdue beat Tennessee. Tennessee had a lead in the second half. Purdue came back and won. And there you go with Purdue. Probably the best player in the country is on Purdue. He's giant. That helps.
I never thought they'd get this far.
Yeah.
Because Purdue has a chronic history of choking when they have been a top seed.
I would love to see
And-
NC State beat them right here and go to the final game.
Buddy, I'm all in on
Against
the
UConn.
Wolfies, but I think UConn's going to do it.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, and I will say this about Alabama. I try to give them credit where it's due. They are playing much better defense than they did about a month ago. You know, their defense was questionable for a while, but when it really started picking up, I believe, is when Tennessee visited Tuscaloosa, and they held Connect to a pretty low number of points. And that's very
15,
tough to do.
something like
Because
that.
Auburn went to Knoxville, and Tennessee Connect, they couldn't stop him. But Alabama, who's supposed to have not as good of a defense, held him down. And that defense has improved through the tournament, and it's really helping them out.
Yep.
And on the women's side, if we want to just touch on that a little bit, there's a lot of men's.
72-1 is all you need to say, Terry. South Carolina, Don Staley, 72-1.
Yeah.
And they beat Oregon
They're pretty
State
good.
by 30.
Yeah. And Iowa and LSU.
Yep.
We're
going to get the
rematch.
rematch.
Going to the next round.
Yeah.
And we don't have exactly the update here for all of it, I think, but NC State was still in it.
State won. State beat Texas. It was an
NC
upset.
State
they
on
beat
both
Texas.
sides. That's good. And UConn and Duke here too. So some of the men's blue bloods are showing up on the women's side, and these women's teams, they haven't won the national titles, but they're going pretty deep. So that'll be interesting.
Anything can happen, Terry, but my money's on South Carolina. They have one loss in 2 seasons, and it costs them the national title. That's one loss in 2 seasons, and it cost them the national championship. So, because it wasn't for the national championship, it was in the Final Four, if I'm not mistaken, against Iowa or LSU last year. Regardless, doesn't matter. They're going in. Speaking of LSU, just because I know we may get to it later, does this heaven know it's Iowa? Fuck Iowa. Fuck Caitlin Clark. And I'm going for LSU because I like them. They're just a little bit hoodie. Mulkey is I love her. I don't care what the press says. I am all about it. So fuck Iowa. That's where I'm at.
And as I said earlier, this time a little different. There will be more about Iowa later in the show.
Yep. There will be. I'm sure.
Let's move along, get this show rolling. Let's talk about some wrestling. You told me I didn't do a good job last week of knowing what's going on in wrestling, so I'm trying to prepare. And I'm sitting here wearing a Talking Rasslin with Pondwater Dave shirt, and we didn't even mention it while one of the hosts was here. Shame on us. We should have noticed it and said something.
Rasslin. That's wrestling. So I'm wearing the shirt she gave me, by the way, for Christmas, the Arn Anderson shirt. But my camera doesn't allow you to see that. Anyway, wrestling this week was fantastic. Raw, did you catch the segment with The Rock?
I did. I watched
Woo!
pretty much all of Raw. I did skip through some of the matches, which is kind of interesting because the interesting parts of Raw are not necessarily the matches, but
The storytelling.
the storytelling, not just the Cody situation with Roman Reigns and The Rock, but on the women's side, it's pretty heated with Becky and Mommy.
Well, let's talk about Cody and Rock first, because that's the A story.
Yep.
As Eric Bischoff would say. Rock comes out, interrupts, lightning presentation, $5,000 shirt or whatever the hell that sleeveless thing cost him. Comes out looking like $1 million. PEDs, ladies and gentlemen. That's how he does it. I don't care what anyone says. That is performance enhancing drugs. At 53 years old, you do not look like Dwayne Johnson without help. That's all there is to it. But anyway, doesn't say a word on the mic. And then says, I'm going to make you bleed to Cody in the ring. We cut to the end of the show. He'd beaten Cody down. The producer, not the Produsah, is counting him down and out saying, hey, we're done. And he said, fuck you, I'm doing what I want. And he's just letting it fly. And it's a fourth wall because what you're seeing is the producer filming the beatdown while another camera's filming the producer telling him to stop the beatdown because the show is over. And it was really, really well done creative storytelling. We talked about it last week with the shot with Sami Zayn leaving the ring. This week, you get a fourth wall. It's almost like they're breaking the fourth wall because The Rock is telling the guy, I don't care if the show's over. And he keeps whooping on Cody's. And the show wasn't over, obviously. But it's an interesting, unique, different way to present wrestling.
So what you're saying is they're a little bit
in wrestling
better
is
than
original.
WCW was when they would go over.
Yeah, it's the overrun. Nothing is original, but what was original is the way they shot the shot. They're shooting the shot of the guy telling him to wrap it up, and that is where I'm saying they're breaking that fourth wall.
Yeah.
Very, very well done. Very incredible storytelling. To your point now, because I know you love Becky Lynch. Old mommy got under her skin talking about her child there.
Oh, she did. Don't you dare talk about my baby.
And then Dom, the heat magnet, took the punch from Becky.
That's great.
Dom, dirty Dom. But what a heel he is too. I love the fact he can just walk out of the curtain, walk through the curtain, and everybody boos. He got booed at his own wedding, for Pete's sake. That's heat, baby. When your own stablemate gets
usually
everybody
that doesn't
to boo
happen
you,
till the honeymoon. Anyway,
exactly. But he got booed at his own wedding. But really good fourth wall. Now, WWE SmackDown, my girl, one of 4 in the world that has a chance with me. Jade Cargill makes her debut. If Tony Khan did not drop the ball, I don't know what you call it, but she is
definitely
perfect for WWE. Terry, thoughts? Go ahead.
Well, I think she's great. And I was at when she was in AEW, I was at a show in Atlanta. For those that remember certain shows, this was the show where Cody caught himself on fire. And I was on the second row. And I was on TV the whole time.
Andrade match, right? The Andrade match?
I don't even remember. I know that Arn was whipping somebody all the way up the ramp. So I got video of that. So that was that.
Gotcha. Cool. Sorry. Go ahead.
But I think it was Andrade. But Brandy came out and this is not a big deal with what I'm saying, but Brandy came out and said and put lighter fluid on the table, and Cody caught himself on fire. But before that, the guy sitting next to me, when Jade Cargill came out, he'd been talking about Jade Cargill the entire show. He loved him some Jade Cargill. He said, "Don't tell my wife." And I had to tell him, well, I ain't got a wife. That ended 2 days ago. But anyway, Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill. I don't know why I feel like I got to say that. I just thought it was fitting. But she's fantastic. and she just didn't have any support at AEW. And the WWE got her and thought we can use her in 6 months. Well, that wasn't enough time, or however long it was, and they needed a little more time because they didn't know how badly that AEW had handled this phenomenon. So they took her and they taught her.
Stage presence, just ring presence, the way she walks, the way she looks. Jade Cargill has what Vince McMahon always wanted. Whether we talk about Vinnie Mac on this show or not, we haven't canceled him, but his son-in-law certainly has that same eye for talent. That is the airport look, if there ever was one. She turns heads wherever she goes.
Absolutely.
And it's not just because she's a beautiful woman. This is a beautiful woman that commands people look at her by the aura that she puts off. Not only that, she might have 4% body fat and it's all in her boobs. Let's be honest.
I was going to say she's got a little bit of body fat, but it's all structured in the right places.
She is phenomenal. A mother, a wife, a wonderful person by all accounts, and was willing to start over in WWE, not tell them, well, I won 50 matches in AEW. Why are you guys, wanting me to do the training center and all this? She will be huge because Triple H believes she can be huge. Shawn Michaels believes she can be huge. Oh, and by the way, they got a pretty good track record with women as well in terms of who they find for WWE.
They do. Now that they're not looking in the lingerie catalogs.
Correct. But we did say AEW dropped the ball. What they did not drop the ball on was the main event Wednesday, but tag team tournament, obviously for the tag team title, since Sting and Darby have vacated them.
Right.
They had their matches. FTR wins. I think, or maybe that happened on Collision, but it doesn't matter. They're doing the tag team tournament. Who cares? Nick Jackson and Matthew Jackson are going to take on Orange Cassidy and Trent Beretta. Takeshita versus Swerve was, as expected, a pay-per-view match that they once again gave away on free television. Swerve is now going to face Joe at Dynasty. I think that's a mistake. I think they should have pushed it off to Memorial Day. I think they should have done the tentpole event, Double or Nothing. I don't think you do it on a secondary pay-per-view. You need to make Swerve. You need to have everybody singing his song with Nana dancing, leading the way as he holds the world championship, and you make your new babyface. And you make him by beating a legitimate champion in Samoa Joe. I think they're going to jump the shark, or they're going to do some bullshit finish here for the second one for a return, and there's no need for any of that.
Yeah, for the most part, they seem like their storylines don't take long enough. But the only one that I would think about was Wardlow turning on MJF. Took a very long time. That's the only thing I can think of that was extended out.
Took almost so long it telegraphed it. You knew it was going to happen. It was almost Batista Evolution where they drug it out, and finally turns.
Everything else is rushed.
Yeah. One thing I will say, Ospreay Shibata opened the show. Now, obviously, Danielson Shibata was the show the week before, and they're doing this little one-upsmanship, getting to Dynasty pay-per-view. But it was on the upper third of the advertisement, and it did not close the show. An interesting choice, but I think Tony Khan, with a Freudian slip of sorts, has just told everybody, the dogs are barking. Sorry, they're coming to their room.
That's all right.
I think Tony Khan has just told everybody who he thinks his star is, and that's Will Ospreay. It's undeniable that Will Ospreay's your star, but why open the show and put him on the upper third instead of putting Swerve and Takeshita, who are also your big players right now, on the upper third? What do you think, Terry?
It's kind of a little bit not quite as drastic as a Hogan must pose kind of thing, because Hogan wasn't always what you would think about being the main event, but he was the main event.
That's correct.
I think in Tony's mind, that's what Ospreay is right now.
Go lay down. Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing, is that he's got this multi-million-dollar toy, the same with the Okada. He better use Ospreay and use him appropriately.
Right.
I just think it's a little bit of a disservice to both Takeshita and Swerve. They're the main event, but they're pictured below Osprey and Shibata in the advertisement for the show. I just think it was a very interesting marketing choice because either one could have been a main event, but your main event ended up being the lesser match, at least according to the poster. So you're indicating to your viewers where your priority is. That's just my opinion, whether it's happening subliminally, like Zach Morris's messages we talked about last week or not. Who knows? Top Flight on Collision. The Darius and Dante Martin beat the former AEW Tag Team Champions, Big Bill and Ricky Starks. Starks looked like he got hurt there at the end of the match. Everything is good. That's not the big thing, though. Mr. Woo Woo Woo, Matt Cardona, came back. Former Edge head, known as Zack Ryder, was part of Edge's family, La Familia, back in the WWE days in his entry level of wrestling. Answered Edge's open challenge, or excuse me, Copeland's open challenge for the TNT title. Had a great match. I don't know if you saw that one. That was a lot of history between those two guys.
I did watch the WWE. I did not catch the AEW this week, but I like the fact that they are using these guys that have worked together before, even if they were partners, together. And I do like those decisions. You know, obviously Edge and Christian, or Copeland and Christian Cage, or whatever you want to call them, worked well together. Tag team partners for a long time, but going up against each other in AEW is good. And to bring Matt Cardona in, I think is a good decision. And I like Matt Cardona. I'm anxious to see what happens with that.
Our producer's moving us ahead, but I want one other point. Copeland goes ahead and he gets a confrontation with the House of Black, Aleister Black, who, by the way, I think is fantastic. What a presentation,
Malachi,
a character.
right?
Malachi, excuse me, not Aleister.
Is it Malachi now?
It's Malachi now. It was Aleister. But Malachi Black, House of Black, Brody King, of course. Oh gosh, Rhea Ripley's significant other, Buddy Murphy, excuse me. Yeah. But anyway, they confront him, blah, blah, blah. Now we got a 6-man tag. We saw 2 more 6-man tags.
6-man tag on AEW? What? Never.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what I wanted to ask you about. And get your thoughts on.
Too many. Well, they got the belts, you know. It's like
they got the trios titles, but right now you've got the 2 trios champions feuding because the Bang Bang Scissor Gang broke up after they sold enough shirts.
I could do without the titles. I could do without so many matches with that many people because they don't tag. If they forced them to tag, it would be one thing, but we know they don't do that. That's my opinion. That's AEW wrestling.
Texas Tornado rules, basically, yeah.
Every
but
time.
my thought was, I think it's indicative, and I'll leave it at this, and we'll move on, that they have such a bloated roster and such little time, but they paid for these people to be on the show,
right?
So they've got to find a way to use them. Malachi Black could be a TNT champion. He feuded with Cody. He could be in the World Championship picture. We have him running a trio right now. That's all I'm saying. It's just some of the stuff doesn't always make sense.
All right. I'm saying Battle Royal to start every show. Let's do it that way. Anyway, let's move along to football. Spring games and spring practice is ongoing. Spring games are coming up, except for Hawaii. They have their winter game, I guess, in February. Liberty and Missouri has even had theirs already, and BYU. Most spring games are between April 6th and the 27th. I'll run down a few. Washington has the latest on May 3rd, but our favorites, Auburn is on April 6th. A week later, Alabama's on April 13th, and then
Roll Tide.
Your favorite, Nebraska, is April 27th.
I put notes in there for you, Terry. Notes. You see
That's
the notes.
for you, sir. I see the notes. You can say all
the
that.
Notes. Yeah, Nebraska will sell out again. 75,000 for the red and white game. Don't hate the players, hate the game. 1963. That's what we've been working from. Second, Raiola, who we paid $1.8 million to come to play at the University of Nebraska, is currently in the 2 spot according to spring practice. He's right behind Heinrich. This will not last. Mark my words, Dylan Raiola will start the first game of the season as a true freshman, only quarterback to do it since Touchdown Tommy in 1992. Okay? That's number 2. Number 3, the black shirts, the defense, are far better this year than they were last year at the same time, according to everything coming out. Nebraska may be that dangerous team that everybody in the Big Ten is going to have to play, Terry. And that's what we're looking forward to. So that's what we got on football this week. I did my research. Terry, on the other hand, apparently does not watch Hugh Freeze's press conferences the way I watch Matt Rule every day at lunch.
Well, I mean, okay, here's the situation. If Auburn can find a quarterback, they'll be fine. If they can't, they won't. Let's move
Hey,
along.
they got a
and find out.
quarterback. They got a quarterback. He came from Michigan State. Even
But
I knew
more
that.
importantly, we're anticipating football starting. But guess what did start? Even if we ignore the South Korea stuff, the baseball started. Opening day was March 28th, and Yankees and Braves are both doing pretty well to start the season out.
The Yankees are not doing well. The Yankees are the Yankees. 4-0, sir. 4-0. Swept Houston. In Houston, Giancarlo hits number 1 of 50. 417 feet. It's gone. Didn't even play in the third game. Had a run today.
Oh, he's tired.
Yankees win
Big
again.
guy. He's tired.
Yankees win again. Hey, look, when you make that kind of money and look as good as he can do, you do what you want. Okay? And what he does is he hits home runs and he beds baddies. That's what Giancarlo does. And some of you will get that in 20 minutes down the road. But the MVP of opening day, Aaron Judge, without question, captain of the Yankees team, had some really good plays, good defense, good hits, and helped lead the comeback because it looked like they were going to lose to Houston in the opening game of the season. Volpe is exceeding expectations at bat. A lot of good stuff happening for Yankees fans, and they're doing it without their ace, who is on the 60-day injured reserve list for his elbow.
I feel so bad for those guys that they don't.
Yeah, you should. 27 championships, Terry. We got the Hall of Famers, the names, the stadium, the history. And remember, the Yankees are God's team.
I don't know where that crap came from. But anyway, the latest edition of Terry arguing with people in Facebook comments comes from somebody, some baseball page posted that Mike Trout was on pace for, what would it be? It would be 162 times 4, 254, 508. I don't know. Anyway,
648. 648.
648. Thank you for the math, because apparently I wasn't mathing. Anyway, and I'm the engineer apparently. But they posted that, and I'm like, holy crap! Did Mike Trout hit 4 home runs on opening day? No, they were so excited for opening day that he hit a home run on his first at bat, and they did the math from that. I'm like, all right, slow down, guys. Let's give it a little bit of time before we go crazy with it. But anyway, the Rockies, we talk about the Yankees and Braves doing well. The Rockies, sorry, Carl, they're not doing well.
Buddy, I'm going to tell you, and we'll wrap it up here, because I grew up in this part of the baseball games I went to were in Coors Field, the Rockies, the Mile High City. The air is light. The home runs are often. The Rockies had the best chance of winning when I was a kid, the year of the strike. That was the year they played deep. They had Andre Galarraga. Now I can't even think of them all. Dante Bichette. Yeah.
We'll also talk about him later.
They were really, really, really good. And then the strike happened. And then I think they got bounced in the second round of the playoffs by the Braves, maybe.
Are you guys done yet? All right, let's go. Let's move on. Next.
We got a New York Produsah. I don't know if you guys know this. She may not be in New York now, but it's in her.
Can you not see how big my hair is? Look at this. All right.
She could do the remake of My Cousin Vinny. All right. That's all we're saying.
In my dreams, I couldn't be as good as Marissa Tomei. All right. She is.
It's a fake question. What do you mean? They didn't make one in 1962. It didn't come out till 1964.
That is another Seinfeld reference there, because George George found out that somebody had wanted to set him up with Marissa Tomei at one point and didn't do it. And he started watching My Cousin Vinny, and he had a girlfriend. Well, I don't remember what her name was, but she's like, really? My
Was
Cousin
it
Vinny
It
again?
wasn't Allison, was it?
I don't, whichever one that died from
The one that
wedding
died
invitations.
from licking envelopes?
What was her name? Anyway, somebody knows it.
Oh my God, I need to
don't
watch the
remember
show.
that. It's great. Anyway, Allison came on to shut us up because we got other things to talk about. And one of those, if you're watching on YouTube, you see the Eiffel Tower behind her. That's because she's been a place or two lately. Why don't you tell us about it?
So hi guys. I missed you. I'm back. I have been gallivanting around Europe for a week. All right, not true. I just went to France, but I did. I went to Paris. I took my mom. We went on a bucket list trip. I'll tell you, I could legit survive on baguettes, cheese, coffee, and coffee cream pastries.
Oh,
And don't forget the wine.
I mean, the wine's great and everything. It is, but you don't need it.
Every dinner picture had a wine glass full.
All right, it did, but
you
it
don't
wasn't
need
always
it, but we
mine.
drank a whole bunch of it.
I didn't say you needed it, okay? I mean, I had it. It was phenomenal. It was I went to the couple key things we did. We did the Eiffel Tower. We did a dinner cruise on the Seine that was beautiful at night, seeing all the sights. My favorite, without a doubt, was the Louvre. Seeing all that art. I'm a nut for historical, especially religious art. Yeah. So I really enjoyed that, especially some of the crown jewels. Oh my goodness. Oh, tiaras up the wazoo. I love that stuff, which I will get to in a minute.
I saw a story about some of the crown jewels missing the other day.
But my favorite thing that I did there, and I mentioned a book before, was going to bookstores. It has been my favorite book is actually a French book. It's The Count of Monte Cristo, and it's actually written by Alexandre Dumas in French and translated. And it is a thick book. So if you've ever read it, it's phenomenal. It's love, politics, revenge, just intrigue. It's phenomenal. It's got everything you could love about it in a book. But I bought it in French in France. So really excited to start my library in my new house with that.
Awesome. New house. That's
so the second house. Not the second house, yes. The first house.
Yes.
And then there's the third house, which is the compound, which is
that's the compound. We're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
You're talking about all the things you liked about the trip.
Yeah. Did it stink? Yes. I need to know, Terry.
No.
Hold on. I got this.
Okay.
Did the river stink? That's what I want to know.
Here's what I determined on my own. I went at the perfect time. Springtime is the perfect time. As long as it's not hot out, you're good. Because
spring is in the air, not
people do not wear deodorant.
So disgusting.
So
gross.
It's just not a thing.
They're all wrestling fans.
So do they have neck beards?
Spring, winter, fall, probably all really good. But you are gonna get the one or two people who just
make their presence known.
She's politer than I am. They stink because they got body odor and refuse to do anything about it. Bitches.
But you also have the people who put so much cologne or perfume on that people like me who have chronic migraines thought they were going to just throw up on themselves. So there was a lot of that, which I did not appreciate.
I find a delicate balance works best.
Yes, I agree. But Terry asked me a very good question. What didn't I like from my trip? I'm going to tell you something here. What the hell happened to airport or airplane courtesy? Did it die? Did it disappear?
And y'all make fun of me for driving everywhere. Go ahead, Allison. I'm sorry.
I mean, do people forget their manners when they step into an airport?
Mm-hmm. Not just airports. There's a lot of locations for that.
I experienced grown people acting like toddlers.
Did they take their
Unbelievable to
shoes
me.
off on the plane?
Oh, shoes and socks. On
So
my plane,
gross.
shoes and socks. And I'm
so
sitting there
gross.
like, oh,
I bet these are the same people that leave their buggy out in the field,
You know they
in the
are.
parking lot at
100%.
Kroger.
Or the people that stand up immediately when the plane lands. They're in the same category with
Hey,
the
I'm just
shopping
getting my
cart people.
bag, man.
Now, to
I'm
be
sitting
fair,
back down.
we were on a plane for 7.5 hours, so I absolutely stood up after that plane landed. So, but I
Well,
agree.
Transatlantic's a little different.
Yeah. Other than that, no real complaints.
How was
You know,
customs?
and I would like to set something correct. A complaint I heard a lot was, oh, people in France don't like Americans. No, they don't like shitty Americans. Okay? They don't like
Fair.
Americans who are entitled and who think they're above everybody else. Okay? If you go to France and you act like a decent human being, you're going to have a great freaking time.
It's going to take some effort, but I will
It's
try.
going to be really hard, but trust me, it's worth it. You're nice. Guess what? People are nice back to you.
Imagine that.
I love her so much. I want to ask, seriously, how was customs coming back into the country?
So I have global entry. To everybody.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You're a cheater. Never mind. This would be a boring answer. Go ahead.
$125 every 5 years. Worth every
much.
penny. Get global entry.
25
you
bucks
use a little
year?
kiosk instead of waiting in the long line. I was in and out. My mother was in a wheelchair, so she went with her helper, and we split up and we both ended up on the outside. I was first and she came about 10 minutes later. It really wasn't bad though, I'll be honest. Not at all.
So my custom story, the reason I asked this, because I've traveled a little bit, not like you, but I went to Costa Rica in 2004. So we're 3 years after 9/11. And we all go to Costa Rica, and they're making us fill out our customs cards, declare what you brought in, blah, 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 blah. We land stateside after 10 days in Costa Rica, and this is what we got from the TSA people. 30 kids just waving them through, didn't even look at us, didn't check the bags, didn't
we
stamp
didn't
the
do it for
passport
this time. So,
and this is 3 years after 9/11. When we all know they canceled flights, they redid the airlines, they did the whole TSA thing. There was a time you had to be 3 hours early to an airport in Denver, Colorado. You had to be there 3 hours early, which is obnoxious. You just waved us the fuck through. They're like, go on, move,
Well,
get
I
out
will
of here.
say this. I got
I'm
a similar thing. It's not an airport thing, but it is like an after 9/11. I was entering a military base with 5 of my friends. We were working and we went to lunch. Well, at the time, we had like 3 or 4 badges to go to 3 or 4 different locations for work and all this stuff. Well, the guy driving the car drives up to the gate, hands a big wad of badges over to the guy. He's supposed to be checking these and looking at us. He goes, okay, and hands them back. And he said, okay. He just like, he got them all in his hands and he just like shrugged his shoulders. Well, there's a bunch of identification here. You must be good. And he let us on our way.
I didn't hear that.
It will always be the perception of safety, not that you're actually safe. That's all I'm saying. Oh, but no. Overall, rate the trip. You've been a lot of places. Where does Paris rank?
Okay, so it's going to be ranked a little lower than I would have liked because 2 of the pre-planned tours, they didn't show up. And it's because I booked with a service that then booked with the tour providers. I'm not going to do that again because I tried calling the service providers and both times I couldn't get to them. So, really upset about that because it was 2 really good trips I really wanted to do. I would rate the whole trip probably about a 7.5 out of 10. Food, excellent. Drink, excellent. Transportation, not great. not easy to get around. Everything takes time.
Uber, taxi, or train?
I
Just
Ubered
curious.
everywhere. I Ubered,
Okay.
you can Metro, but with my mom. So this is something also, because I met my friend who just moved to Paris there. They are not very disability friendly because my friend is in a powered wheelchair. So because a lot of stuff is old buildings, a lot of stuff has to be reaccommodated. So we went to dinner one night and they had to open a second part of the door to get him into the restaurant. And it was kind of hard because they hadn't opened that in a while. So like it was very interesting for me to see because that's a big part of my job. You know, you guys know I'm a chair for the employee resource group for disabled employees at my company. And it was something just I kept paying attention to, is that we would have discussions and he was telling me he takes the bus or the train to work every day, and it adds at least a half an hour to an hour onto his schedule because he can't easily get on. He needs one-on-one help to get on the train or the bus. And I'm like, that's something I think we take a little bit for granted here because we don't we have much more availability here. So
Yeah.
thought it was interesting. So, you know, just different stuff that I learned there. Prices, I'll be honest, I thought they were going to be a lot more expensive there, and they weren't.
That's good.
You live in Connecticut, ma'am. It's the most
And I think
expensive
that's what it
state
is.
Be
in the
more
union.
expensive than Connecticut.
Okay, so fair point, very good point. I live in the Northeast, so thank you for setting that expectation. But the
She
euro
loves
and the
coming
dollar
south.
are very close right now, so
Yeah,
that
for
helps.
all of our listeners, she loves coming south and
Yes,
is
I
blown
do.
away by
Everything
what
is so
things
cheap.
cost down here.
Okay, that
But
does
all right.
remind me of something real quick. So I was talking to my oldest son the other day. He's graduating high school soon and going into the Coast Guard. And he told me, I want to go to New England, maybe Connecticut. His second
Coast Guard Academy?
choice is Seattle.
Oh,
So I'm just saying you may end up seeing him around.
hey,
So.
I'm gonna
There
see
you
him either
go.
place. Look at that.
We love it. Yeah, that's awesome.
like it.
Good for Houston. Seriously, good for Houston.
Seriously, good for
But
Houston. That's great.
one more thing before you move on to criticize
Yes.
me, because I know it's coming. Tell us about the dick bread.
Oh, okay. So I am obsessed.
I need to find the picture and
Obsessed.
put it on the video.
Yes, please find the picture. Obsessed with the baguettes in France.
And,
Okay.
and before you go any further, you stuck that picture on Facebook, and I was not
yeah.
the only person
Nope.
that thought the exact same thing.
And somebody asked me if I should take it down, and I'm like, the dick bread picture? No. Nope.
It's
the dick
just bread.
It's just bread. If you see a dick, that's on you. That's not on me. But yeah, I would buy a baguette every day, every other day. They were $1 and they tasted like heaven.
Oh,
of course I'm gonna buy a
I
baguette
would get
every day.
so fat in France.
What do I?
Oh,
I was also walking 5 to 8 miles a day,
That's
so I didn't
good.
care. So
Yeah.
I was fine eating a baguette every day. But one day I took a picture of I think it was the first day and the first baguette, and it looked. Friends of mine, go look at my Facebook. I have a whole folder of just all the food I ate. It's in there.
Don't ask how I know these things unless you want a vivid description. But it looked like an erect, uncircumcised penis. You're welcome.
All right. So enough about my
From
trip.
the owner's
Let's talk
view,
about the
anyway.
real reason that I am on here. Okay.
The real reason we're in trouble.
So I let you boys run free last week while I was gallivanting in Europe. Okay. And then I listened to the show and watched the show, and I hear Andrew, my platonic life partner, pretending like he doesn't know who Amy Farrah Fowler is and not giving Big Bang Theory the respect that it deserves. Your best friend is a rocket scientist, for God's sake.
This is true.
This is what you have to say about a phenomenal show? Seriously?
I like Young Sheldon better.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that is not a sitcom. Okay.
He likes the drama. You know.
You're the
that.
fourth person that told me
drama.
that.
Have you met Andrew?
I have. And I'm well aware he likes the drama.
Anyway.
I did
just wanted
totally
to
go
remind
blank on her name, but I did impress you earlier today when I reminded you I know she happened to host Jeopardy.
Correct. But there is a
You did.
scene there is a scene in this show, and it is my favorite scene, and my friend Jay knows it very well. It's when Amy is mad at her boyfriend Sheldon, and he needs to make it up to her. And she's like, I can't believe you. How'd you do this? And he's like, well, I bought you something. And she's like, I can't believe that you would think that buying me a present would make up for it. And she goes to open it and pulls out, I can't, what's wrong with you? Oh my God, you bought me a tiara. I'm a princess. Put it on me. So just so you know, if you ever have a problem and don't know what to buy me, you can buy me a tiara. I accept tiaras.
Noted.
Yeah.
Noted.
All right.
Okay.
So I will say this, speaking of Amy Farrah Fowler, it reminds me that yet another show that we did not include in the options was Blossom.
Oh,
and I bring this up because I was talking a lot about Terry's TV crushes when he was a kid. And it wasn't Blossom.
It was Six.
But Six was pretty hot.
Is she redhead?
Joey Lawrence. Hello.
I don't remember if Six was, I think she had brown hair, mostly redheads. I mean, we've talked about this. Stacey Keenan,
Right,
that's the
boys.
name I couldn't think of last week. Stacey Keenan, before she dyed her hair blonde. But yeah, we don't have to go back over this. Everybody knows.
Everybody knows. Uh-oh. Terry! It's time for the baseball.
All right.
The baseball.
So after we've been criticized a little bit for our doings last week with the top 10, let's get into something major here. Major League Baseball started this week, so let's rank top 10 baseball movies.
And for our listeners, by the way, our producer's going to stay on with us because she loves baseball almost as much as we love the Yankees. So go ahead.
Correct.
Number 10, Rookie of the Year.
Henry Rowan Gardner.
I've seen it. I'm a little old for it, I guess. It was a little later in my childhood. Pretty good movie.
What about Gary Busey? I love Gary Busey in this movie.
No matter what he does.
The Rocket. Excellent. This was before the accident where his brain ended up like Swiss cheese out on the I-5 highway. He was the backup pitcher, the Rocket. And he hated Henry's the kid.
Mom.
Yeah, ends up dating Henry's mom, and he falls and all that, and then they have to do all the trick plays and shenanigans at the end. But this was a fun movie. This boy goes on to play in American Pie as Kevin. He's one of the kids. He's the one that makes the pact that they're all going to get laid on prom night. So Henry Rowan Gardner did grow up, but of course he's a Cub because everybody knows they can't win the World Series.
Not at that point, at least.
Well, it was over 100 years before they did it. So I love this movie.
One of the wonderful things about this movie that I definitely, attached to was that he always grew up thinking his dad was the baseball player in the family that gave him all the skill that he has, when it turns out it was actually his mom.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that little twist, and you don't get that till the end. So it was really
and then you float it, and he hits the floater. Yeah. And I love the announcers in the movie. They don't do the Bob Uecker thing from Major League, but it's pretty close, where they freak out about all of the things he does. But anyway.
Number 9. 8 Men Out is the first of multiple movies on the list based in the teens and 20s, we'll say.
Yeah. This would have been 1919. The White Sox threw the World Series. They did it with Comiskey as the owner, which the park is named after these days. Shoeless Joe Jackson, among others, were indicted, listed, whatever, banned from baseball
Doc
for throwing
Weaver,
the World
my
Series.
namesake. Apparently in the movie he couldn't write his name.
Eddie Collins, he was the pitcher who didn't win 30 games or whatever. The champagne was flat. They set this whole thing up with the ownership being cheap and all of that. And then, of course, the mafia gets involved and they fix the game and they throw the game and all of that sort of thing. Interesting that in 1918 or 1916, Babe Ruth is for the Red Sox, but the White Sox end up winning a couple pennants before he really got rolling there in Boston and New York. So anyway.
Before the big trade.
I thought the movie was okay.
baseball, the mob.
I like
Couple
stuff
of hot
set.
guys. I got no complaints.
Yeah, I like stuff set primarily in the 20s. Obviously, I corrected myself because I knew it was 1919. I didn't want to say the
Yeah.
20s, but I like movies set back then, and I like baseball stuff. So movies set back then, baseball movies set back then are right up my alley.
Well, by all account, too, it was pretty accurate. Comiskey
Yeah.
apparently was a dickhead. I mean, I don't know that for a fact. I'm not a Chicago guy,
Imagine
but
most of those owners were back then. These guys didn't make much money at all. They had separate jobs in the off season and stuff.
yeah, crazy. Now they're the highest paid professional athletes in the world.
And
So,
when we
there you
want to
go.
complain about athletes making so much money, the alternative is somebody with some pockets could come offer them some money to throw the game. I mean, them making a bunch of money kind of keeps us from that
Yeah,
quite a bit.
yeah. Real good period though too. Historically,
Mhm.
they kept it accurate to the time. The music, the show, etc. Uh-oh, there we go.
Number 8, Moneyball. And I looked for a picture in some of these cases that would depict the important pieces of this. And I think this picture is almost perfect. It doesn't show Chris
Very good.
Pratt as a player, it doesn't show any of the players, because this isn't really about the players. This is about
Nope.
wheeling and dealing of the players. And that's what this is on the boardroom. He's explaining to all these old men why they need to do things differently for the Oakland A's to win some baseball games. And it's wonderful.
Yep.
And you guys know it, but I forgot how stacked the A's were.
Yeah.
Like when they do the opening of the movie and you see Johnny Damon and oh God, I just lost the other guy's name and he went to the Yankees.
They talk about
Because
Dave Justice.
yeah, David Justice, but Damon went to the Red Sox and
then the Yankees.
then the Yankees after the pennant, but in the World Series in 04. But anyway, I was reminded how good Oakland was. Or how good they should have been anyway, and they didn't make it happen.
I hate,
that's who it was.
the Giambis.
Jason Giambi.
I used to call
Giambi.
Jason Giambi a greasy monkey. I hated him so much.
Wasn't he a Yankee though? I got that right.
Yes,
Don't
I hate him.
Yeah.
I don't care. He can still be a Yankee. I can still hate him. I don't gotta
But
like everybody, all right?
The whole point being we need money to compete. That's what Brad Pitt keeps asking for. We need money, we need money, we need money. You're not going to keep talent if you don't pay talent. It's not that he couldn't find it. It's they couldn't retain it. At least that's the message I got from the movie.
Mhm.
And
I don't know what you all
worked.
think. I thought it was a good movie.
It was, and I think what happened was it's kind of like, obviously we talked about the NCAA tournament. The Ivy Leagues run different kinds of offenses because they just don't have the players. This was kind of what that was in baseball, where the A's are a small market team. They don't have the big bucks, and they need to do something different. And they figured out a way to do that. The problem is the Red Sox learned about that, and they started doing it. And then they end up breaking their World Series streak, and other teams start doing it. And all of a sudden, now you have the same mindset as somebody, again, that has a lot more money than you do. So eventually it settled in right where it always does.
And Oakland is still a problem that way. The market is still a problem for Oakland. They can't pay players to stay.
And they're trying to go to Vegas, but that's a big mess. Anyway, number 7, The Sandlot. Excellent
Time
movie.
out.
Kind of like
Time
baseball.
Time out. How in the hell is this only number 7?
All right,
Who's voting in this poll? Like,
hold
19
on now.
people voted. We got the biggest turnout for voting that we've had the whole time. Go ahead, producer. I'm cutting you off.
He's gonna be mad at me because I voted this one down lower because you gotta wait to see what comes up higher because there's a lot of good movies in this category.
To quote The Sandlot, you're killing me, Smalls. Okay? Next, you're going to not know who the great Bambino is. This was an awesome movie. Love this movie. They get on the swings with the chew in their mouth and puke over everybody. Hercules is the dog. That's so awesome. The Beast. Roscoe's favorite movie character, by the way, is Hercules, the Beast. Roscoe is my 107-pound dog that I refer to as the Beast. But he reminds me that the Beast was a bull mastiff and he is an American pit bull. So, but this was a great movie, great childhood fun. I I can't believe y'all put it at number 7 though. You
Well.
disappoint me again. You
Sorry.
know, it'd be like if the Golden Girls didn't win
Oh, God.
sitcoms, but they went with a bullet.
Well,
And
I
we know
started to
that.
go with a picture of Wendy Peppercorn here, but I thought you might want to see the boys.
Wendy Peppercorn, the chew scene, the Great Bambino, the home run, Pickle the Beast with Vinny the Jet Rodriguez. Oh, what's
And
his
where
name?
he gets the
James Earl
ball from
Jones.
his dad's trophy case, and it
swipes
says
the ball.
Baby Ruth on there.
Baby Ruth. The Great Bambino, the Salt and the Swat, the Colossus of Klaus.
And the Beast, and it's owned by
James Earl Jones. Who supposedly played with Babe Ruth. George? Yeah. You could have knocked on the door. That shit was hilarious. When they started beating Squints up, Squints Paladares. Everybody knows him and Wendy Peppercorn got 8 kids because they didn't have a good television. Some of you will get that joke in 10 minutes.
Number 6, and this was my number 1. Speaking of set in the 20s and baseball, The Natural. And a lot of people don't know this movie. Robert Redford,
this was
Glenn Close. Excellent, excellent movie.
Excellent.
Confession.
Oh, and the diabetes guy.
It.
That's number 1 right there. The manager of the team is the diabetes guy.
Wilford Brimley.
Wilford Brimley.
Put some respect on his name.
This is definitely one of those movies where you're in it for where you're in it for the acting. This is a brilliantly acted movie. I will fully admit that's not what I went through for my number 1. So, but respect for your number 1.
Not a movie I've ever seen.
I thought that might be the case. So anybody that hasn't seen The Natural, go check it out. It's about a lot more than baseball. That's all I'll say. I got to count it. Number 5, The Bad News Bears, the original Bad News Bears with Mr. Buttermaker, Kelly
Walter
Lee,
Matthau, yeah.
all those people. And I got a picture here that's in black and white of the whole team. Tatum O'Neal, the pitching ace. Excellent movie.
One of the reasons I used to love this movie so much is because it used to be on I don't know what holiday, but I feel like it used to be on like that night, and I feel like you used to get to watch this. I don't know.
Memorial Day, 4th of July, yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, like 4th of July or Memorial. Yeah, 4th. And I feel like I used to get to watch it as a kid all the time. I loved this movie.
It's good.
I thought it was great.
I like this one better than the remake. Honest review.
Absolutely.
And there's been several. I mean, there was the one
this
where
is the
they
one
played
from what?
in the Astrodome.
74? This is from 74 or something.
76, I think.
76? Okay.
It's as old as
anyway,
me.
Don't admit that.
I look good for my age.
Because you're a cradle robber. I'm a younger man. Everybody knows.
Number 4, Bull Durham.
This is my number 1.
This is minor league baseball.
And Drew.
I lived 60 minutes from Durham. Never saw Bull Durham.
Obviously, it's about the Durham Bulls. Who don't know about that? Minor league baseball team. I think back then they were in the Braves organization. They've switched to somebody else now. I think changed levels or whatever, but that doesn't matter. It was a great name to go along with their team and mascot, but it was another movie that was about baseball,
but not about baseball.
But about a lot more than baseball. Kevin Costner, going to be a running theme.
Yeah, I knew it was Kevin Costner.
But I mean, come on. You knew it was going to be a running theme at some point. But Kevin Costner and Susan Sarandon, and Susan Sarandon's husband, what is his name? Tim Robbins?
Yeah, Tim Robbins is an actor, yeah.
Yeah, so they're all great in this.
Another great movie where the woman has freedom of choice and there's no real I'll call it thumbing your nose down at her because she chooses to be with who she chooses to be with. I love this movie. This is fabulous. This was way ahead of its time. At least what I thought. Andrew, you definitely need to check it out. You'll love it.
At least the opening scene. The opening scene I think is wonderful. And I don't know who wrote that.
Yeah.
But that is absolutely fantastic.
Absolutely. All right.
Number 3, speaking of Kevin Costner, we have Field of Dreams. Speaking of Iowa, like I said earlier, I've been doing a lot of foreshadowing today.
If you build it, they will come. Go the distance. What was it? It was if you build it, they will come. Go the distance, and there was a third one that he heard. He heard noises from the combine.
Something led him.
Ease his pain.
Yeah.
If you build it, they will come. Ease his pain. Go the distance. Those were the 3 messages he got out of
Another
the
theme,
cornfield.
James Earl Jones. He had to go find James Earl Jones somehow, so it had to lead him to him.
Yeah, the author who was dead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then the wife who was crazy. I loved this movie. I think
Right.
this one did not make number 1, but it was certainly the top 3 for me. The Burger King back in the day did the gimmick where you would go to Burger King and you would order the food and they would give you the VHS or sell it to you, whatever, to go along with. Field of Dreams was in that
VHS.
list. I
Wow.
wore this VHS out.
I just had a bunch of California raisins. Where were they giving out VHS?
Yeah, I'm old enough to have a VHS, homie. Okay, I know what a VCR is. Don't chastise me. Don't chastise me.
Hey, listen, man. You were talking about wrestling earlier. I used to go to Green's Video in Green Hill, Alabama, and I know nobody knows that place, but they had the best wrestling tapes. Anyway, carry on.
I'm going to give you a hot take on this, though. Book better than the movie. Written by Campensella, I believe it is.
I need to go read that.
Book better than the movie, and there's a couple of them. So he's written a few of them. And by the way, when he asks, "Is this heaven?" No, it's Iowa. Fuck Iowa. Go LSU. Nobody likes Iowa. Iowa stands for idiots out wandering around. And of course, you would have the damn
cornfield.
One of the greatest baseball movies ever in the state of Iowa, just so we could chastise it later.
Well, he had to have corn to mow down. Anyway, number 2.
Nebraska Corn Huskers.
A League of Their Own.
Yeah.
Another beautiful movie. Fabulous movie.
I know what's number 1 because there's no way it's not.
Oh, yeah, there's no question. But
so these were my top 3. These are my top 3.
Yes, yeah. I'm thrilled to see this movie so high because I'll be honest, usually you don't see a lot of guys who think this movie is very high.
Oh, I love this movie. One of my favorite scenes is Marla Hooch. So what do you recommend? A lot of makeup and a lot of night games when they're trying to make her pretty.
This is a really good cast, though. I mean,
Gina Davis,
Tom Hanks,
Madonna,
Rosie
Tom
O'Donnell.
Hanks, Madonna, Rosie O'Donnell, whatever the sister's name is, Kit. John Lovitz, the shitty agent.
Mm-hmm.
What is her name?
What do you got to say goodbye to the cows when he gets all mad? But yeah, that whole thing. I love this movie, and like when he goes and he takes a piss at the beginning of the movie, he's drunk, and they know him. Jimmy Dugan was his name, if I'm not mistaken, in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And Madonna starts timing it. She's like, "Give me your watch. Give me your watch." That's some good peeing. But when Marla does karaoke, they're like, "What did you do?" We gave her a dress and a lot of liquor, and we got her up on stage drinking. And of course,
this movie
it's set during World War II. No baseball because all the men are away. And that's why you get it. Now go ahead, Allison. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're right. This movie actually inspired me to finally go to Cooperstown. Because they did have a section in Cooperstown dedicated to the women of baseball. And I'd always wanted to go. I'd always said I was going to go, When I saw this movie, that was it. I was like, well, now I have to go. I have to see this. And so glad I did it. It was so great. I went for my birthday one year.
Well, I think I went
with the Brit.
I'll say this because it is the truth.
The Brit.
When I was 11, my 12-year-old female cousin decided to play baseball instead of softball. She hit 2 home runs, and we used to give my college roommate crap because a girl hit a home run off it. But she was good. She
Oh,
made
there it
All-Stars
is.
and everything. Number one, Major League. You should have seen it coming. I tried to find a picture that represented everything. Got the owner there, got Serrano.
Corbin
Don't
Burnson. Yeah,
Yeah.
Willie
Roger
Mays
Dorn.
Hayes.
Yeah, Willie Mays
Jake
Hayes. You
Taylor.
got my favorite, California Penal League.
The only one we don't have is Ed Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and he was so good. He was Joe
Hey,
Boo.
bartender, Joe Boo needs a refill.
He was such a dick.
You signed to
I
say
loved him.
Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball? He was
Uh,
excellent.
Oh, he was so good.
So
And
good.
I love the premise that they want the team to be so bad that they'll move them out of Cleveland. And you know,
mean,
when he,
What's happening
be
in
fair.
Oakland right now?
the mistake on
Were
the
you
leg,
about
tell
to
him,
say
Allison.
Let's be fair. Cleveland sucks.
Cleveland
Nobody wants
sucks.
to be in Cleveland.
We've
Except
been talking about that a
SummerSlam.
lot. haven't
What the hell? No, my favorite though is when well, it's not my favorite. This whole movie's great, but he calls Lou and he opens that's who you're missing. You're missing Lou in the
Lou.
I am
picture.
missing
He
Lou.
says, "Hey, Lou, this is Charlie. How'd you like to manage the Indians?" "Oh, I don't know, Charlie. I got some tires on the way," or whatever he says.
Oh
This
man.
is a shot to actually manage in the big leagues, and I'll have to think about it, Charlie.
I love when they're in the playoffs and he's in the hospital and he's secretly listening to the game.
Yeah.
And
That's the second
he's
one,
supposed
but
to be
yeah.
watching like British comedy or whatever, and the nurse comes in when something just happened and he goes, "I love this British shit."
Yeah. That's the second movie, by the way. That's Major League 2.
Oh, is it?
Where they substitute Wesley Snipes out for Omar Epps. But anyway, yeah, your boy knows things. Don't worry about it. But yeah, I love Major League. I thought this was great when Wild Thing as he is gets the glasses. You know, I'm gonna get something more me, but he's got them red glasses. My what's his name? Ed Harris says my wife had a pair just like him or whatever. My aunt. He got the damn glasses on. But you need to teach him some control before he kills somebody out here. Oh, and then Renee Russo's in the movie. You know, great
Oh, yes,
actress.
Yeah, she is.
Though,
At
because
her
again, it's
best.
not just about baseball, but
Mm-mm.
really
Oh,
good.
the library scene where she snaps back at him. I don't remember exactly what she said, but that was excellent.
Was
I have a
so
much
good.
All right,
better ass than
boys.
she does.
I'm gonna let you guys finish the show without me, so see you later.
Thank you.
Adios. Thank you.
So that is the top 10 baseball movies, and we did a pretty good job of giving options on that one, I think.
We had a ton of different options.
Well, I went
And
to Wikipedia and there was a huge list, and I tried to get anything that I thought anybody would have ever heard.
well, let's face it, Terry, we love football.
Mhm.
But baseball for a very long time was really America's game. I mean, it genuinely 100% was America's game. So, anyway.
All right. Well, that was good. I love that one. We've been holding on to that one for a while. We got a lot of participation. We wanted it for opening day. So there it is, the top 10 baseball movies. But let's move along to this week's champ of the week. And we're going to stick with baseball this week. In our champ of the week, we're going to split it this time, a combo, because of a person and a response to them. So Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and we're going to call him the kid who beat cancer because we don't know his real name. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. saw in the game against the Orioles, he plays for the Blue Jays. He looked out of the dugout and he noticed that this kid was wearing a Dante Bichette jersey. And he had a sign that read, "Hey, Bo, I beat cancer like you beat the pitches." I think that's what it said. Something, the bottom part was kind of hard to read, but at least it was, "Hey, Bo, I beat cancer, blah, blah, blah," like you did something else like that. So, or it might have said pitchers. I don't know. but that part was kind of hard to read. But you get the point. Well, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. sees the sign and yells into the dugout, "Hey, we got to get him a bat," and that kind of thing. And obviously, he was talking to Bo Bichette. For those who don't know, Bo Bichette is the son of Dante Bichette, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is obviously the son of Vladimir Guerrero. So both of these kids spent a lot of time at the ball field, at stadiums when they were younger because their dads were playing, and they've been that kid. They had connections, but they've been that kid. And a lot of these guys are really good guys. You only see them on the field. You don't necessarily hear a lot about them if they don't get in trouble. So we want to spread some positive news about a Major League Baseball player, and we want to spread positive news about whoever this kid is. He looked like he was about 10 years old, 12 maybe. So he's beat cancer, and we're really proud of that and really happy for him. And Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Rewarded him with a bat. Maybe they even did more than that. We don't know that, but that's our champ of the week.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. Anytime you help a kid in need like that, or a cancer kid beat cancer, give them a trophy for that fight. That's a fight nobody wants. Doesn't matter what your age is, what your whatever background, anything. Nobody wants to fight cancer.
Right.
And affects everybody. I mean, everybody listening to the sound of my voice, watching this show, not watching this show, knows somebody who has had cancer. That's that simple. It's that common. And the worst ones to see is in kids. So that was an awesome gesture from those guys.
It was. And it's been a good show today. We've done a lot of things. We've talked a lot about basketball. We've talked a lot about baseball. Had the top 10 list about baseball. We had the producer on for multiple things. And we had our friend Amy on talking about good shows coming up on the RAM network, and we played a fun game with her. That's something, if you want to check it out, if you get on the Patreon, that you'll be able to experience. There should be more of that coming out. But Andrew, it's been good. You got any final thoughts before I wrap it up?
Nah, buddy. I mean, we had a fun show. It was a different show. I liked the feel of it. Always good to have our pals and our friends, our best friends on the show. And the only thing I'm looking forward to, since we got to see both of them today, is Baltimore, baby. We're going to be eating at Jimmy's and Sabatino's, and Allison and I will be reviewing those meals for our show also on the Rasslin and More Network, and invite both you and Amy to participate with us and see what we can do for that.
Bring it all together, and
yes, sir.
We'll criticize
together,
and that could be positive. Criticism sometimes is positive.
I will say it don't have to be ugly. And if food is involved, I mean, you guys know I take that very seriously, particularly with this low carb, no carb diet I'm on. Shit's gonna get real, buddy, in Baltimore. I promise you.
Don't give me that crap. Don't give me that crap. Anyway, it's been fun as always. Love you, buddy.
You too.
As always, love your people, just like I love Andrew, Amy, and Allison, and all of our friends on the network that we're going to be doing stuff with. Tell them you love them as much as possible and make it weird. See you guys next time, everybody. Have a good week. Thank you for listening. We are TNA Top 10 on all social media. I'm TWeave79. He's 30-year fan. We're available weekly where you get your podcasts. Like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.